right, to build back a life for myself. Mm-hmm. And so for me, yes, back to your question you asked, I was reading books, definitely. I started, I just, what I did was really changed, my environment in a sense. And when I say change my environment, I'm not talking about my physical environment. I just changed what I was focusing on. I just changed what I was paying attention to, right? I changed what I was reading, who I was following, what I was looking at, so I saw myself trying to, I was reading, more books and listening to more podcasts and shows. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. Mm-hmm. I have an opinion too. I have a perspective. And what if I could create a platform where people could just be, experience this naked consciousness and could be honest. So you just said it, so I was focusing and looking in a different direction than I was as an actor at the time. Right. So I guess that's where the reinvention came. And then, of course, you come into a certain consciousness. And I think that this is the idea of being naked, is that you live in you experience a certain kind of personal freedom, right? The freedom to be who you are and to present yourself the way you are. And that is probably the deepest form of consciousness that you experience, because you come into an awareness and you become more aware of how you show up and how you show up in the world and all of that. So for me, I started changing, and I think with that started meaning that I was changing my habits. I was changing the people I was hanging around with. I was changing the people I was collaborating with, like all of that started changing. And then that's how, I went from being just this actress, right? Just an actress, to becoming more than an actress, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. That's great. So that's when you then started your, say, naked philosophy and expanding your brand. What was first? So I know you mentioned the blog first, but then yes. What was the natural progression of, was it the radio show next, or how did that evolve?
So, the first thing was, I started writing. And when I started writing, I wasn't planning to start a blog. I was just writing, and I would put it out on Facebook, right? And I would share it on BBM, and I would just send it out, right? And people would send messages, and everyone was like, hey, start a blog. And I'm like, start a blog? Nah. Again, another thing you tell yourself, I'm an actress, how can I start a blog? And I understand this, I live in Africa. So while everyone else might be moving in a very fast lane, we're trying to catch up a lot of things. So I was like, what? Me, an actress, start a blog? No, bloggers are supposed to be for, for journalists and the gossips and the, I don't know, starting. But then I kind of realized, wait, I could, and people were like, no, you need to share this blog, build a platform. Mm-hmm. And I kept saying to myself that I was going to start a blog. And for 2 years, every time I stepped out and I was asked, Alex, what are you working on now? I'm like, I'm about to start a blog. And I was about to start a blog for 2 years. So every time I went out, and people would ask me like, oh, I start a blog. And I was saying the same thing for 2 years. And then one day I sent a message out to a friend of mine, and I sent it on BBM and then WhatsApp. And then he sends me a message back saying he was going to block me off. Like, what is this? Go and put this thing on a blog. Like, stop, something. And then he sends me this image of, do it now, not later. And I'm like, wait, but you just said you're going to block me off. He's like, yeah, go start a blog. And I'm like, start a blog? And it's like, yeah, it's not that hard. You can do it in 30 minutes. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, the platforms where you can just go and start in 30 minutes. And so I kind of tried. He lied because it took me more than 30 minutes. But the point is, I eventually set that up. And of course I called it, because I didn't know what to call it. So I was like, okay, Alexandra and her naked thoughts. Right? Mm-hmm. And really the blog, eventually, after doing the blog and get a lot of, attention and views, and people wanted to read my stuff. And, a lot of it was raw and raunchy and real and, as naked as, depending on what it was. And right after doing that for quite, for like the first year, I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe I would love to do a radio show. Now, here's the funny part. The radio show that I wanted to do wasn't even the show that I'm doing now, which is and that's another long story. Mm-hmm. But eventually, so I was like, okay, you know what? Let me test run this. Let me try something. Let me try an online show. But what am I going to call this show? So I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me call it The Naked Talk. And I'm like, you know what? Nobody's going to listen to The Naked Talk. Who's going to listen to it? No, nobody's going to listen to it. So I'm just going to play around and just do this stuff. Right. And so it was meant to be a joke.
Yeah.
And then that's how the show was, it went from the blog to the radio show. And then the radio show seemed like it was a joke. And before, I got a pitch, somebody was from, an American author is like, hey, I'd love to be a guest. And I'm like, what? Me? Really? Wow, I could do this. So that really was, how that came. And then from the radio, I think, was that Yeah, yes. So from the radio show, and then I was like, you know what? How about I write a book? Because everyone kept going, oh, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to call the book? So I'm like, The Naked Truth. So, I kept trying to maintain, and then I started the book, and the book is out. And then I'm like, oh, I want to do a summit. I want to bring speakers. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to call it? The Naked Challenge. So, anyway, cut the long story short, I started thinking of different ideas and things. And then I started the Naked Bliss Academy. And then, there's all this naked stuff going around.
Yeah.
And, and just creating platforms. And it's interesting how these silly ideas come in my head. But the most important part was that I had the mission to help people be, just live their authentic best, just be themselves and living their own personal freedom and, leaving that light bulb of truth and not be ashamed to be who they are. And so it's funny how, this thing started, but people just, they kind of seem to dig it. They like being naked. So it was fun.
Yeah. That's awesome. And then, so you've also written a book called, was it Strip Down Success for Creatives?
Yes. And it really is, principles for creatives and just how I've been, just the principles that I use, or I have used to sort of like build my brand and kind of build it beyond borders, so to speak, right? And how I've been able to, build a global brand and how I'm reaching out to people and collaborating and these are principles that people probably know. So I put this book together and, did Strip Down, Success for Creatives. So,
okay. That's great. And then, because I also don't want to forget about this. You're also you're working on another book right now that's coming out later in 2018. Is that correct?
Well, yes, but I actually have a book that came out today. So
today. That's okay. That's awesome. Okay, so what book came out today? You are prolific.
Well, there's a book that came out today. It's actually an anthology. It's an anthology. It's a global anthology. Okay. And I wrote this book with 20 other women. So I'm a lead author myself, and one of my partner, my co-author, and she's in Canada, Frankie Picasso. We came together, and this was right after my summit. I did, my first summit in 2016, and she was one of the speakers. And we had a great event, a 6-day event. It was powerful. 25 speakers from around the world with this amazing summit. And she was like, "Hey, I love working with you. Let's try something else. Let's do something else." I'm like, "Hey, let's write a book." Yeah. And so we decided to merge her brand, because she's known as Unstoppable Frankie, and then of course my naked brand, and we decided to write this book called I Bared My Chest. And so I Bared My Chest is, even though, this book features 21 unstoppable women from different parts of the world. It's very diverse. Our youngest author is 16. The oldest is like 65. We have, from different countries around the world, different continents and countries, and different sexual orientation and different, career and religion. We have Christians, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, think about everything. Like, it's so diverse. I don't think it's a book as diverse as this in terms of just everything that represent different cultures and race and stuff. And it is, the beauty of it is that it is not a feminist book. Right? So, the truth is when people see women come together, they think, everyone is going like, hey, we're raising up, we're lifting our pink, our pink underwears and stuff and, we're shouting. But this is a book that, men and women will enjoy because it would make you laugh and cry and cringe. And it's very, we say it's bold, brave, and ballsy. The language is, we're stripped naked, like in terms of, so we talk about finance to just, our experience and what we feel about, building a career and what we think about money, right? and how we deal and manage money, what we think about wealth and spirituality and religion and sex and, just everything you can think of that we feel is important to every aspect of our lives. We talk about everything. What am I missing? Everything. Love and relationships and friendship and prejudice and it's what is amazing is that all of these different women come from different times, different generation, different continents and different stuff. But with all the difference, there's similarity. Like we all, at the end of the day, want the same thing. So it's so funny how we're all so different, but in the core of it all, we are all the same. Like, there's something that unifies all of us. And so you would see someone, your sister, your brother, probably your neighbor, your aunt, like, there's everyone's stories, and some of the stories are, really, really intriguing. But I think it's not just the stories, but it's how we put out the story, right? So the language, and it's funny, it's hilarious, and oh my God, crazy. So yeah, the book came out today.
Well, that's great. Congratulations. I feel honored that you are on my podcast on the release of your book.
Yes.
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 Is it
yes.
So is it on Amazon? I'm guessing.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it's on Amazon. It's on Amazon, but of course, they can go to our website, ibaredmychest.com.
Okay.
And, and it's available, it's in print and ebook, and it's in audio, and the audio is awesome because, the authors actually, yes, we tell our stories in our own original voices.
Oh, that's
so
great.
you're going to hear all the accents, the Indian accent and the Brazilian accent and the African accent, and just, everyone telling their stories, and it's just hilarious. So you definitely want to get the audiobook. It's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm going to have to look at the audio or download the audiobook because that sounds like it's even more rich in the original languages and voices of the authors.
Yes. Yes, it is.
That's great. So are you having a book that comes out in 2018, or was this the book?
Yes. No,
Okay.
I have a solo book coming out, right? I have a solo book coming out in November. It's called Reveal.
Okay.
Right? It's Reveal, how to strip down barriers, boundaries, and limiting beliefs. So it's Reveal. Again, everything is kind of, there's always something to strip, right?
Yeah, there definitely is. Slowly but surely. Yeah.
Right.
You're taking off a layer.
Yes. So, Reveal is coming out, it's my solo book. So it's coming out in almost November 2018, and I'm excited about it actually cuz I'm excited. Right.
So because of everything that you're working on, have you gotten better at saying no to either it's previous people in your life or projects in your life that aren't quite what you want anymore? Because you do keep busy with a lot of different things. So have you gotten better at saying no, and how has that process been in selecting of projects?
I'm glad first. That's a great question. And yes, I think I've gotten better at saying no. At first, when you get offered an opportunity, and sometimes, you see you go, oh yeah, sure, why not? I want to do this. But then you realize, hey, I'm busy, right? But at the same time, it's not about just being busy really, but you also have to think of how is this, opportunity serving, not just me, the other person. How am I going to serve the other person? I mean, if I'm going to be so busy that I'm not going to be able to commit to it, then it would be unfair for me to say yes when I know that I'm not going to fulfill my part. And I'm the person who likes to give 100, and if there's anything like that, 110% to whatever it is so what I've learned is to just go, hey, this is, right now I can't do this, but here, how can I support you? Mm-hmm. Right? So my way of saying no is like, hey, I may not be able to do what you want me to do, but hey, I can do something for you.
Yeah.
Right? So I rather than just go abruptly, oh, I'm sorry, no, bye, bang, because I believe in relationships, and I believe just because I'm saying no now, or because I'm not traveling with you today, doesn't mean that I may not travel with you tomorrow. So what I do is, so that you know that I support what you're doing, or if I support what you're doing, then I offer the person something. I go, hey, you know what? Okay, so I'm not sure that I'm the right person to help you. I'm not very good at cryptocurrency. I don't know anything about it. I'm just joking. I'm using that as an example. But right. I'm just saying, hey, I'm not really sure that I'm the person who's going to be knocking on doors trying to sell that. Mm-hmm. That's not my thing. But you know what? I can do something for you. I can run ads on my show, or I can, promote your stuff, and, and if you have a banner, I can put it up, so I offer you something so you know that I am supporting you, but I may not be able to take a part or take the role that you're offering me the opportunity you're offering me right now, the way you're offering it to me, because I have something else I'm doing. So that's how I get to say no. Nicely.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. What about the times when you feel overwhelmed or unfocused or even scared about moving forward with projects? How do you approach fear and uncertainty in times like that where you're just not really feeling 100% yourself? How do you get past that?
Oh, great. Oh, my God. Let's see. It's like a very pregnant question. So I'm trying to see. When I feel uncertain and when I feel, you know what? The truth is, God, it's funny. I run on I run on a full tank of hope. Let me tell you this, Yuri. I run on a full tank of hope. Like, I'm the optimist. But at the same time, there are times I'm overwhelmed, and that's true. And there are times I'm tired and I